Hello, I'm Zorab and this is Byther Farm, and this morning I'm planting onions in this raised bed here. The sun is just glorious. It's a really cool, crisp day. The air is very damp, which is making the wind a bit chilly, but these onions are a little bit late in going in. These should have been autumn sown, and we're now in the winter, so I really need to get these in. I have my two dibbers with a piece of twine between them. Thank you, Erica. And so I'm going to make some nice straight lines and get these onions in. This bed is the old parsnip bed, and at this end I've still got 4 rows of parsnips, but they will come out over the next few weeks, and in this end I'll put something else. But for now I'm going to get the onions in here, and I think possibly as I lift the parsnips I'll either put in more onions or I'll put in some shallots. So I'm using the string to give myself a guideline, and when I did this with the garlic last week, I used my hands to create holes and it was just way too cold, so I'm going to go and find my little trowel. Victory! It was just where I'd left it. So I'm going to make some neat holes about 6 inches apart. This is really a guide for me more than a definitive decision. We use a lot of onions in the kitchen. They are the basis of many a meal. And this variety is called Senshyu Yellow, so it's a yellow skinned variety. I've grown them before. I didn't find them hugely strong in flavour, but actually I really rather liked them. So in they go. And as with all onions, shallots and garlic, it's the root end down. The easy way to tell that is that the pointy end goes up. Now I'm not covering up the holes until I've made the holes for the next row. So here we go. Pop my string in about here. I may have these a little too close together. Let's have a look. I'm aiming for them to be about 6 inches apart when they're planted, which means as they grow it gives them a little bit of space. They're not going to be touching. Also gives me room to get a hoe in between them to remove any weeds if I want to, or I can add more compost and mulch out any weeds. Now the reason that I didn't cover these holes over is that they then give me a guideline for the next for the next holes of where they're going to go. Because whilst I'm not obsessive about straight lines, if you want to be able to weed in between bulbs, having them in a fairly straight line really helps. Once you've got organised, it actually doesn't take very long to plant these. You've got the holes there. It literally is just a case of popping them into the ground, pushing them into the level that you want them to be. Now, as with my garlic, I want these to be a couple of inches, so that the top is an inch or two preferably, below ground level. I think it helps stop the birds from pulling them out. So once the little shoots appear, they have actually got some roots to hold them into the ground. So I'm covering over my first row but leaving the second row so I can see the second row as a guidance again. It's not a long job, it's not a difficult job, and it's quite a satisfying one to have got done. So it hasn't taken very long to plant 6 rows of onions. I think I counted 13 onions in each row. Now I'm also going to put a stick in here which will show me at the point at which the onions are planted up to, so they're up to here. And the only other thing that I want to think about for these onions is to put some sort of covering over them to try and dissuade the birds from pulling the onions out as their little green shoots grow, but also to try and discourage the local cats from using this lovely bed as a toilet. And it's not just Monty, there are other cats in the neighbourhood, so I'm going to put a layer over it which will just hopefully invite them to go and use somewhere else for their toilet rather than this onion bed. In a week or two's time I'll have access to lots of old chicken wire which could be used over this bed, but in the meantime I've got some plastic netting which is like a strawberry netting that you put over to protect fruit. I've had this for about 3 years now. I'll just keep on using it on the grounds that I don't really want to be getting plastics and then chucking them away all the time, so they get reused, and I'll do the best I can with draping this over and fixing this just to give these onions a little bit of protection for a month or so. So there we go, that's the netting over the top. Now it isn't done in a terribly fancy way. It is literally 2 pieces. I've got them as tight as I can so that there's less chances of anything being able to get underneath them. I mean, certainly we don't want any birds getting underneath them. So I will just go around the edges, make sure that these are held down. A couple more sticks on the side I think will do that. This isn't going to stay on for very long, but hopefully enough time to give those onions a really good chance to get going. And so wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one. And I also hope you'll join me again next time.